So we'll be live on YouTube and we will also be live on the gram. So we are live on both of these.
Okay.
We are live on both of these. All right. Are you ready? Let me not yell into the mic. Are you ready? I'm excited about this. All right,
Right.
everybody. Welcome to the network. The network is the educational podcast designed to help our community navigate the four areas of life that I like to call the funky four corners. I've had the opportunity to interview some of my favorite people with one goal in mind, and that's to help the spiritual, physical, mental, and financial health of our people as we navigate this thing called life. We're doing something new today. I want to bring to you one of my childhood friends, someone that I have known as we age gracefully almost all of my life, the majority of my life. We're doing something different. This is the History Quarter with Dr. Sharlene Sinegal-Decuir. I'm going to let her introduce herself to you before we get started. Dr. Sinegal-Decuir, the floor belongs to you. Tell the people who you are.
Hi, everyone. I'm Charlene Sinegal-Decuir. I'm from Lafayette, Louisiana, originally. I have had my academic career at Xavier University, where I have been teaching for 15 years, and I was recently promoted to professor of history. I'm the former chair of the history department and the current chair of the African American Diaspora Studies department, which is a department that I created with a $500,000 Mellon grant. So I'm very excited about that new department at Xavier.
Listen, most of us, most of y'all, most of me, we don't even know what a Mellon grant is, but just understand that she is the chair of a department that she created with somebody else's money. Okay? So
Basically.
let me let me tell y'all about the History Quarter. The History Quarter is 15 minutes. It's going to be the funkiest 15 minutes of Black history and bite-sized pieces that you have ever had. So we're diving right in because we only got 15 minutes. Today, we're going to talk about the historical importance of voting. Okay? Now, Doc, before you get started, doing a little homework, I know Gary Chambers there in Louisiana was very vocal about the voting in Louisiana. So we're both from Lafayette. You work in New Orleans. I went to school in Baton Rouge, so I just got some numbers here. He was talking about early voting. I don't know what the total number was, but Baton Rouge, that has about 127,000 Black people, had 8,000 that voted early. New Orleans had 6,000, and Lafayette, Louisiana, where we are both from, had 3,037 people turn out for voting. Now, those of us who keep up, whether we're still in Louisiana or not, we know how that election turned out. Dr. Sinegal-Decuir, educate us on the historical importance of voting.
Well, I would like to say first off, too, that I actually live in Baton Rouge. So I'm from Lafayette, I live in Baton Rouge, and I work in New Orleans. So I have a close connection with all three of those areas up and down I-10. But what I can say is that the importance, of course, of voting goes back to the 1960s and, of course, the 1965 Voting Rights Act. It's something that African American people fought for, died for, bled for, and so on. And it's so very, very important that our young people and even people who are in their 40s understand the importance of voting. It's extremely important to vote in your local elections, as far down as voting for someone on the school board, because that impacts the lives of education in the state, in any of the states that you are in. It impacts educational resources for the state, and it impacts your children's future as to what they learn, how they learn, and even so much far as what kind of books they can read, right? Everything is impacted by voting. I do know that around 2013 is when there has been some type of pullback to the Voting Rights Act. It's kind of like the Congress has been nipping away at the Voting Rights Act and slowly disenfranchising many people, minority people, people who have disabilities, people who have language barriers, people who have low economic backgrounds and can't afford maybe to get an ID. But what I say all of this to say that it is extremely important for everyone to get out and vote. Your vote does matter, even though you think it does not matter. You just mentioned, numbers from early voting. And it's very, very sad that a lot of African Americans and people of minority class, we do not get out to vote unless it's a national election. But at the local level, this is where we feel everything more. At a state level is where we feel things the most. If you look at the past election that we had and the new governor that we have in the great state of Louisiana and all of the changes that he is making, for one, he's rewriting the Constitution within weeks. He has gotten into legislation many different challenges and changes to parole, right? Now, if you're a felon in the state of Louisiana, you can be on parole for the rest of your life. Who is that going to impact the most? So we don't think about those things when we think about voting. We don't think about the impact that it's going to have, not on our generations, but the generations to come, on our children. We're going to be feeling these impacts for a long time to come. So it's extremely important that we get out and vote. And I know, some people will probably say, especially the younger folks, why do I need to get out and vote? These are, not concerned. These concerns don't concern me. Or I don't feel like voting Democrat because my parents were Democrat. And all I say is, it doesn't matter if you're Democratic, you're Republican, you're Green Party, Purple Party, whatever party you want to be, you just have to make sure that your voice is heard. Because at the end of the day, you cannot complain when legislation is made for you and you did not voice your opinion in that legislation.
So we were talking the other day, and if we don't participate in the United States of America, our process for electing those it's a democratic process. If we don't participate in the democratic process, then like you said, we can't complain. But if we don't participate and then we don't like it, what are our options? Are people going to, and I'm just going to speak plainly about it. The other option seems to be taking up arms. We know that's not going to happen. Well, I can't say that because January 6, 2021 happened.
Yes, that did happen.
So for those of us who are not going to participate or choose not to participate, what are your options?
There are no options. If you do not participate, then it's no way that you're going to be able to change anything. Because you have to participate in politics. You have to be able to get out there and vote in order to change anything, to make effective change. You have to petition your local elected officials. You have to petition your state officials. You have to petition your, federal, national officials in order to make any change. But the first thing that many of them are going to ask is, how did you vote? And if you say, I didn't vote, and now this issue is concerning you, but then why did you not vote? So we have to think about those things. I vote for everything. If it's garbage collection, it could be to change the dates for garbage collection. I don't care what it is. I'm going to vote because I want to ensure that my democratic process is being heard and that I am doing my civic duty. And not only that, again, you have to think about all of the people who could not vote for the various reasons of the poll tax and the literacy tax and so on. And those people in history fought so hard for us to have this right. And then just to easily give it up, it just doesn't make any sense. So we cannot, or we have to participate in a democratic process in order to be heard.
How can we, so you and I, we're both historians, right? So we teach history. I teach on the high school level. You teach it at the collegiate level. How can we do a better job of educating our people about history in general? Because there's nothing new under the sun. History just repeats itself. So how can we do a better job of educating our people on these things that have historical importance, such as voting?
I think what you're doing right now, this platform and having people talk about it in various ways, the Instagram, what is it, X platform, any type of social media platform right now is really hot with the kids. And if you can give it to them in small doses, like you're doing right now, that is going to be impactful for them and to them, because no one wants to really read anymore like we used to read. Now the whole thing is you put it in a book, it's lost forever. But if we can grab the young folks in a way and on the platforms that they are generally looking at, then we can bring democracy and the understanding of voting and also our history back to them and back in center stage. Because what we have right now is a lot of erasure of the African American culture, the African American struggle. And we are never going to continue to know our strength if we lose sight of what happened in our past. And so we just have to continue to try and educate our people on the platforms that they use most day in and day out.
Good. So I think we need more, right? I think we need more people engaged in history. I think we need more people teaching history. I think we need all of those things. So this is something we talked about in my classroom this week. So we do an agree, disagree once a week, a couple of times a week. So I pick quotes. So this was the quote this week. And I think this is very relevant for today's conversation. This is from Coretta Scott King. She said, "Struggle is a never-ending process. Freedom is never really won. You earn it and you win it in every generation." So when we look at those numbers that were mentioned in the state of Louisiana by Gary Chambers, then this generation is failing. This generation is not participating in the competition to win freedom if it has to be won every generation. What are your thoughts on that?
It's absolutely a true statement. I think that this generation, we're given little things to take us away from the larger goal. And when I say these little things, we are worried about P. Diddy. We're worried about Kendrick Lamar and Drake's feud. We're worried about all these other things that don't impact us in any type of way, in a positive way for the greater community. So we are set on stupid in certain instances, whereas we should be looking at what's going on behind the doors of Congress. We should be looking at who's making, bipartisan arrangements. We should look at who is stopping certain political advances for the African American community and so on. So there's so many things that we should be really looking at instead of looking at the noise. We're listening to too much of the noise and not listening to what's really going on or seeing what's really going on. So we have a really like a tunnel vision. We don't see besides this frame. And we need to also realize that it's the collective people. When you think about voting, you're not just voting for about yourself. You're voting for the collective people as well. You're voting for your unborn grandkids. You're voting for the elderly people who can no longer go out and vote. You're voting for so many people for so many different reasons. And we don't understand the power that we have in our voice.
You pointed out something that was great. You pointed out that our vote is not necessarily for us. And one of my students said something one day, and it was picturesque of how uneducated many of us are about the electoral process. And it was like, if I could vote, I would vote for such and such because these gas prices are too high. And I just about lost it. But we have to do a better job of understanding that our vote is not about gas prices. Our vote is not about tomorrow's paycheck. We're voting for something much greater than ourselves. Much greater than ourselves. Okay, Dr. Decuir, we're almost up on time, but I do want to give you the opportunity to give us one piece of unsolicited advice that nobody asked for, but you're going to give it to us anyway.
I think well, go vote. I mean, we have a presidential election coming up in 24 November. Was it November 5th, 2024?
That's
Go
right.
vote. Get yourself out there to vote and bring one of your neighbors and somebody else. Spread the word that your vote matters, because at the end of the day, if you don't vote, you don't get to complain.
That's right. Y'all, our 15 minutes is just about up. This has been the funkiest 15 minutes of Black history that we're giving to you in bite-sized pieces. Dr. Sharlene Sinegal-Decuir, thank you so very much for your time. I truly appreciate you. All right, everybody, listen, before we run out of here, if you're listening on audio or if you're watching on YouTube, I need y'all to hit that like and subscribe button. If you're just listening to the podcast, go to iTunes, give us that 5-star rating, tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend. This is the network. I need y'all to subscribe, because you never know. You might need it. Until next time, y'all make history the culture. Peace, y'all.
Peace.
All right, that was perfect.
Okay, that was fun.